So we're now back. We're going to look at Wayfarer's Daubert motion to exclude the testimony of Aron Culotta, who I think is the social media expert. Okay. I haven't seen this guy's report, I don't think. So I'm not sure. I don't think I've seen any deposition either. It exists. I haven't gone through it yet. I'm not sure if it's on the docket or if it remained under seal. All right. Professor Aron Culotta also offers an opinion concerning the manipulation of social media, which he calls inauthentic activity. But as with Maislin, Culotta's anticipated testimony is precisely the type of pseudoscience Rule 702 was designed to exclude. Among other defects, Culotta's opinion rely on social media metrics of his own invention, like top comment shares on TikTok, which he claims were abnormally high for anti-lively posts. This analysis is completely uninformative. However, since Culotta has no basis for claiming such metrics are indicators of inauthentic activity. Culotta's data also shows that he failed to reliably classify social media posts as anti-lively, a step which is indispensable to his analysis. At bottom, Culotta merely shows that there might have been elevated levels of anti-lively sentiment on social media, while unjustifiably leaping to the conclusion that this could not have happened naturally. Moreover, he relies heavily on emails and other communications produced in discovery, as opposed to any accepted methodology to support that inference. That is not true expert testimony. Culotta's opinions should be excluded in their entirety, and at minimum, he should not be permitted to testify about case documents that he has no business summarizing and interpreting for the jury. And what I'm hearing here is a theme that Lively's experts did not actually offer any expert opinion. They just looked at everything and said, yeah, we agree with that. That's how it's starting to look now. Similar to the effect she had on the cast when it was right, say this, unfollow Baldoni, do everything I say, back me up. And then all of a sudden they just went like sheep. It's ridiculous. Culotta's testimony about TikTok is inadmissible. Culotta relies on meaningless metrics that are unreliable indicators of inauthentic activity. Culotta theorizes that comments on TikTok were artificially manipulated to boost negative sentiment about Lively, but the methodology he applies to reach that conclusion is fundamentally unreliable. Culotta's opinion relies on metrics that he claims are indicators of inauthentic activity, but he has no empirical basis for that claim, and thus no reliable justification for drawing any inference from those metrics. Culotta collected TikTok videos related to Lively, Baldoni, or their film from July and August 2024. He identified top comment nested under each video, the comment with the highest number of likes, and compared the number of likes on that comment to the number of likes on the video itself, a ratio he calls the top comment share. He then used his subjective judgment to code the overall sentiment of each top comment as either pro-Lively, anti-Lively, pro-Baldoni, anti-Baldoni, or unsure/unrelated. Culotta determined that the top comments he unilaterally deemed anti-Lively or pro-Baldoni had a significantly greater than average top comment share. He interprets these results as suggesting there was a concerted effort to seed and/or evaluate these comments. Culotta's method is flawed on many levels, but the last step is a hocus pocus. Culotta fails to cite any evidence that I can't get this one. It's just not a normal thing for me to say. Culotta fails to cite any evidence that top comment share is indicative of inauthentic online activity. He appears to have invented that metric himself and offers no reason to believe it is reliable or has any probative value. At his deposition, Culotta admitted that he was not aware of any scientific study of top comment share. He cited only 2 academic papers that supposedly used similar methods: Yang, 2013, and Kerdemir, 2023, and his report cites a third, Yarn, 2023. But none of these papers even remotely supports the method Culotta used. None of them analyzes activity on TikTok. None mentions top comment share. None even suggests that the ratio of likes on comments versus posts on any social media platform is an indicator of inauthentic activity. To the contrary, these articles show that Culotta's method is unprecedented and unreliable. The Yang article focuses exclusively on Twitter spam accounts. The authors identify accounts that have posted malicious or phishing URLs and evaluate other means of detecting such accounts, for instance by investigating their use of automated applications to post tweets, and by analyzing the accounts they follow for various features like clustering social relationships. Culotta employs none of these approaches, perhaps because defendants are not accused of running a phishing operation. Yeah, there was one thing she didn't accuse him of, and that was it. The Kerdemir and Yarn articles both undermine Culotta's thesis. The Kerdemir article focuses on YouTube and discusses a variety of indicators and analytical methods that Culotta did not employ. Most importantly, the authors do not even purport to identify a reliable method for detecting inauthentic activity. Rather, they express their hope that their study may lead to the development of an accurate and effective methodology for the timely detection of harmful manipulative campaigns, which suggests that no such methodology yet exists, and that Culotta is merely improvising. The Yarn article is even worse for Culotta. It offers a bleak assessment of researchers' ability to detect inauthentic activity on social media, particularly as it relates to user reactions such as likes or upvotes. According to the authors, research on inauthentic reactions is quite scarce and little work exists on identifying inauthentic votes. Inadequate data is a large part of the reason reactions data is available only in severely limited quantities, if at all, and Twitter is the only platform that offers any access with limitations. To make up for the lack of real data, the authors create synthetic data, fictional social media users that upvote or downvote a fictional post, on which they test clustering models to detect coordinated activity. While acknowledging the limitations of these models, which Culotta did not use, they argue that social media platforms should open access to the reactions data that is necessary to evaluate, tweak, and deploy promising methods of this sort for combating coordinated inauthentic behavior. Thus, like Kerdemir, the Yarn article suggests that no method for detecting inauthentic activity on social media has yet been validated, and that the social media data used by Culotta is totally inadequate for the task. He is applying a methodology that has been recognized neither as sufficiently developed nor as valid in his field. I mean, they don't mince their words, do they? Culotta also claims that the proportion of anti-Lively or pro-Bold only top comments increased after July 2024, and that their top comment share increased too. He offers no reason to believe that these data points suggest inauthentic activity and does not even purport to anchor them in the scientific literature. After all, an increase in anti-Lively top comments just means there was more negative sentiment against Lively. It just states the obvious. No one liked her. Culotta's opinion must therefore be excluded. To permit Culotta to testify would invite the jury to guess as to the validity of a novel and untested theory based essentially on his say-so. But the courtroom is not the place for scientific guesswork. Culotta does not employ the same level of intellectual rigor that characterizes the practice of an expert in the relevant field. His methodology is untethered to the scientific literature. His methodology is untethered to the scientific literature, has not been tested, has not been subjected to peer review and publication, and does not have a known or potential rate of error, and has not gained general acceptance in the relevant scientific community. So they're basically citing all of those citations were used for Maislin as well. If anyone's like watched the Maislin video and thinks, hold on a minute, but they're saying the same thing as they said in Maislin, these are quotes from case citations. And, their argument is basically the same thing. Maislin used a methodology that she designed solely for this litigation. I'm going to get my words out one way or another. That she used for the purpose of this litigation is untested. It's not accepted in the field, etc. And like Wayfarer are saying, well, Culotta's doing exactly the same thing actually. So that is why the same citations then apply. Thus, Culotta's testimony is based on data, a methodology, and studies that are simply inadequate to support the conclusions reached, and as a result, Rule 702 mandates its exclusion. Culotta relies on a subjective and unreliable classification of the sentiment expressed by TikTok comments. Culotta's opinion should also be excluded because he did not reliably classify the TikTok comments in his dataset as anti-lively, pro-Baldoni, or the other categories he selected. Thus, even if top comment share were a defensible metric, Culotta cannot reliably claim that anti-lively or pro-Baldoni top comments had elevated top comment shares, which is the key premise of his TikTok opinion. Culotta did not apply any specific protocol encoding the TikTok comments as pro-lively, anti-lively, pro-Baldoni, anti-Baldoni, or unsure/unrelated. He simply reviewed each top comment in its dataset and made a judgment call, all on his own, about the sentiment it expressed. When asked what expertise he had in evaluating social media comments, Culotta could only respond that he has spent a lot of time staring at posts and comments and trying to contextualize them and understand them. Trying. So I thought this was supposed to be an expert. Do experts try? Oh, wow. Okay. To validate his coding, Culotta had a second reviewer code a sample of 300 comments from his dataset. Yep, and compared their decisions. Culotta meant to show that his own coding was reliable, but in fact he showed the opposite. Although Culotta claims that he and the second reviewer agreed 80% of the time, that's 242 out of 300 coding decisions, they mostly just agreed on classifying comments as unsure, unrelated, which accounted for 189 out of the 242 coding agreements, or 78%. In 52 cases, over 17% of the sample, both reviewers apparently chose unsure, unrelated because they could not decipher comments written in foreign languages, emojis, or gibberish. The two reviewers' agreement on the... oh my goodness. This is so entertaining. The two reviewers' agreement on the unsure, unrelated category therefore provides little insight into whether Culotta properly coded comments as anti-lively. Indeed, where at least one reviewer coded a comment as something other than unsure, unrelated, they agreed less than 50% of the time. An agreement rate that Culotta reluctantly admitted was moderate at best. I'm not sure I'm going to get through this one. Oh my goodness. This is disastrous for Lively. Even if these experts are allowed in, this Dalbert motion is now public and we all know the weaknesses. I mean, we're yet to do Library's Albert motions, and I'm sure she will have a lot to, all her reasons as well, or why the expert should be thrown out. In fact, I know she has, because for each, she's done her motions separately for each expert. They are about 50 pages plus long at least. So I'm not looking forward to going through that. Okay. Culotta coded 68% more comments as anti-Lively than did the second reviewer, including comments that were clearly meant to compliment Lively. For example, I think it's Exhibit 12, a TikTok validation data at row 240, praising Lively as the original It Girl with clapping hands and smiley emojis. And he classified that as anti-Lively. Thus, Culotta's own validation sample illustrates that his coding is unreliable and far from impartial. The jury cannot rely on Culotta's assertion that a comment is anti-Lively if there is a 50-50 chance he coded it wrong. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to hold it together, but this is just brilliant. I'm really impressed with this. But it's been done with a bit of humor as well. I think that's to try and emphasize the sense of how fucking stupid is this? Come on, judge. Culotta has insufficient data from which to draw any conclusions. Culotta's opinion is also inadmissible because it is not based on sufficient facts or data to be reliable. His TikTok data set consisted of only 1,861 videos and their top comments. By contrast, the Kerdemir article that Culotta cites analyzed 936,247 YouTube videos, 9,415,476 comments, and 115,825,225 subscribers, and over 51 billion views. While the Yang article analyzed nearly 500,000 Twitter accounts, which posted over 14 million tweets. To be sure, these studies had broader goals, but their numbers illustrate the extremely limited size of the dataset used by Culotta. Yeah, they do. This is perhaps unsurprising, since the Yarn article explains that reaction data such as the TikTok likes analyzed by Culotta is unavailable in sufficient quantities. Even Lively's expert Dina Maislin testified that researchers don't have access to TikTok data, and as a result, she did not perform any formal analysis of TikTok, and her report only talks about TikTok in a very kind of anecdotal way. Maislin testified that if a researcher were able to obtain a dataset from TikTok, it would actually not be reliable or representative data. In light of this testimony, it's unclear how Lively can offer both Maislin and Culotta as experts. Furthermore, Culotta's dataset myopically focuses on the top comment on each TikTok while ignoring all other comments. Culotta did not review or consider any other comments with high numbers of likes, even if they were favourable to Lively or unfavourable to Baldoni. Thus, if the top comment on a video was anti-Lively and received 100 likes, but there were 99 pro-Lively comments with 99 likes each, Culotta's analysis would ignore the pro-Lively comments. It's unclear how a selective, skewed dataset of this sort could support reliable conclusions, which, incidentally, further demonstrates the folly of relying on top comment share as an indicator of inauthentic activity, and may explain why such a method has never been recognized or confirmed in the field. Culotta's qualitative analysis is unhelpful, unduly prejudicial, and falls outside his expertise. To buttress his opinion, Culotta reviewed the contents of the top comments and concluded, based on his reading of them, that there was a suspicious pattern of repeated themes and language. This qualitative assessment is just as unreliable and unhelpful as Culotta's quantitative metrics, and it should be excluded. His subjective analysis is no more advanced than and should not supplant that of the jurors. Lively has not established that Culotta is qualified as an expert in evaluating and comparing the language of social media posts, or that he applies reliable methods. When Rule 702 was amended in 2023, the advisory committee cautioned against the use of unreliable feature comparison evidence. Evidence that a set of features corresponds between two examined items, which is precisely what Culotta attempts to offer here. The advisory committee specifically instructs that any expert opinions based on such a comparison must be limited to those inferences that can reasonably be drawn from a reliable application of the principles and methods, and it encourages courts to demand an estimate of the known or potential rate of error of the methodology employed. Culotta applies no known testable principles or methods here, just a qualitative analysis based on his gut feelings and suspicions. This malleable and vague approach is in tension with first principles under Daubert and cannot possibly be admitted. At minimum, Culotta's testimony would not help the trier of fact, since the jury is equally capable of comparing the language in the comments and coming to their own conclusions. For instance, Culotta highlights several comments because they emphasize Lively's use of the word me. What? A lay jury is well equipped to evaluate that similarity without assistance from a university professor. Moreover, allowing a professor to opine on the subject may mislead the jury into giving undue weight to his ruminations. Culotta's conclusions are unhelpful and unduly prejudicial because they invite speculation. Culotta's testimony is unhelpful and prejudicial for an even more basic reason. Despite the strong language in his report, Culotta repeatedly qualified his conclusions when questioned under oath at his deposition. At times, his testimony suggested that he was merely raising the possibility of social media manipulation. For instance, and they've provided some of his quotes. I mean, the top share comment percentage provides evidence of possible coordinated activity. My point with this analysis is to mainly say that when we see both anomalous engagement behavior and homogeneous language use, those two things combine to provide stronger evidence of potential inauthentic behavior. I'm saying that the strikingly similar language combined with the anomalous-like values together are indicators of potential coordinated behavior. Yes. It's the context of just being used in these comments serves as an additional marker of potential inauthenticity. Yes. It is difficult to understand what conclusions a jury is supposed to draw from these assertions. Culotta offers no known or potential rate of error that would allow a jury to give his testimony the appropriate weight. He simply raises a spectre of potential inauthentic behavior, inviting the jury to speculate that such behavior occurred. This is not a permissible use of expert testimony. For this reason too, Culotta's opinion regarding TikTok should be excluded. Culotta improperly aggregates actionable and non-actionable conduct. So we've seen this with Maislin. They're going to make the same arguments. Culotta's analysis, like Maislin's, relies on social media posts that are not actionable as retaliation and are thus irrelevant to Lively's surviving claims. As noted above, Culotta did not limit his analysis to anti-Lively posts. He also claimed that pro-Bodoni posts were supposedly manipulated. In its summary judgment ruling, The court held that it was permissible for Baldoni to request that the digital team boost certain videos which he believed were favourable to his image, and for Tag to work behind the scenes to emphasise his stellar reputation. Culotta's failure to disaggregate these non-actionable posts from his analysis confuses the issues and renders his opinion unreliable, unhelpful, and unduly prejudicial, thereby requiring its exclusion. Culotta's testimony about Reddit is inadmissible. Culotta again offers meaningless metrics, unreliable coding, inadequate data, and speculative conclusions. Culotta's opinion that there are indicia of inauthentic activity on Reddit is just as unreliable and unhelpful as his TikTok opinion. They are largely mirror images of each other and are inadmissible for the same reasons. Culotta just swaps one social media platform for another, substitutes one meaningless metric for another, and uses a similarly inadequate dataset to reach his conclusions. His testimony concerning Reddit should therefore be excluded as well. Culotta claims that anti-Lively and pro-Baldoni comments on Reddit have elevated comment scores, meaning that the ratio of upvotes to downvotes is abnormally large, while pro-Lively comments have low scores. If this sounds familiar, that is because it is Culotta's top comment share in different garb. Another metric that Culotta offers without showing it is a reliable indicator of inauthentic activity. In his report, Culotta does not even bother to cite any evidence supporting its use. At his deposition, Culotta was unable to point to any study finding that comment scores can suggest inauthentic activity. The most he could do was refer to the literature he had previously cited. But as shown above, that literature does not help him in the slightest. For this reason alone, his Reddit opinion is inadmissible and should be excluded. Like his analysis of TikTok, Culotta's comparison of Reddit comment scores relies on his subjective determination that the Reddit comments in his data preset are pro-Lively, anti-Lively, pro-Baldoni, anti-Baldoni, or unsure/unrelated. But unlike TikTok, when it came to Reddit, Culotta did not even bother with a second reviewer to check whether his sentiment coding was accurate. Oh dear. This lapse surely does not suggest that his coding was more reliable for Reddit. The TikTok coding shows that Culotta's sentiment analysis was unreliable and ungrounded in expertise, and there is no reason to believe his Reddit coding was any different or reflected any dramatic improvement. Culotta's Reddit opinion should be excluded for this reason as well. Culotta's Reddit opinion is also based on insufficient data. The Yarn 2023 article that Culotta cites in his report states that data concerning users' reactions on Reddit is not available in necessary scope for the purpose of researching inauthentic activity. Culotta does not explain why he disagrees or how he avoided any such problem, even though it is Lively's burden to show that Culotta used sufficient data. As with TikTok, Culotta at times suggests that he is merely providing evidence consistent with potential inauthentic activity on Reddit. This confirms that far from offering reliable, relevant testimony, Culotta is offering speculation that will prejudice defendant and will not assist the jury. Culotta's speculation regarding removed upvotes is inadmissible. In addition to discussing comment scores, Culotta speculates that Reddit may have suspected that certain upvotes were manipulated and for that reason may have removed them from the platform. Culotta's theory is premised on third-party records of unknown reliability, namely an archive of Reddit posts called Arctic Shift. Culotta claims that for two Lively-related posts, the number of upvotes recorded by Arctic Shift was higher than the number of upvotes visible on Reddit around the time Culotta submitted his report, suggesting a decrease between those 2 points in time. He also cites generic web pages that say Reddit sometimes removes content for suspected manipulation. Culotta was unable, however, to identify any evidence showing that these specific upvotes were manipulated or were removed by Reddit, let alone removed by Reddit because of suspected or actual manipulation. He also testified to say that it would be hard for me to say whether any other reason could cause a discrepancy in upvotes. Perhaps for this reason, Culotta repeatedly equivocated about the strength and meaning of his conclusions. We have more quotes. Such an anomalous finding is consistent with an attempt to manipulate upvote counts, as Reddit actively removes content from its platform for content manipulation. I'm offering that the extreme drop in upvote counts as compared to other posts in the dataset is a potential marker of Reddit attempting to mitigate potential manipulation of this scoring metric. What I'm saying is that simply because something still exists on the platform does not mean that Reddit does not consider it as that Reddit does not consider it as possibly a result of manipulation. I mean, that's helpful, isn't it? Moreover, Culotta provides no evidence that in the circumstances where Reddit removes content for suspected manipulation, it does so reliably and with a low rate of error. Thus, even if Reddit did remove the upvotes that Culotta identified, it is unclear what inference a jury could properly draw from that decision. Culotta's analysis is unreliable at every step of the way. In re Marina, in addition to being speculative, prejudicial, and unhelpful to the jury, it should be excluded in full. Wow. Culotta's testimony about YouTube is inadmissible. Culotta's opinion concerning inauthentic activity on YouTube is even more simplistic. Culotta observes that although journalist Shasti Fla posted the little bump video of her interview with Lively on August 10th, 2024, the number of comments increased significantly starting on August 14th, 2024, and used the word bully more than before. Okay. Culotta finds the timing significant because on August 14th, 2024 at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, the tag public relations team suggested sending a Daily Mail article that discussed the little bump video to Jed Wallace, an event Culotta calls the tag suggestion. Culotta finds the word bully significant because Lively's bullying was a theme discussed in the tag scenario planning document. This is just a miniature version of Maislin's analysis, and it is inadmissible for the same reasons. Culotta provides no reliable basis for suggesting that defendants caused the uptick in YouTube comments. Neither the timing of the comments nor the presence of a theme as commonplace as bullying is remotely sufficient. Culotta also fails to apply any expertise, since he does little more than observe an increase in YouTube comments after certain defendants had a discussion that he finds suspicious. I mean, yeah, because the Daily Mail were discussing the video. Well, that would have boosted, the video in and of itself. Like, if the Daily Mail are talking about it, because they're a big publication, they've got huge reach. So how can you say, well, it's because Tag, was talking about it and talking about sending it to Jed? His observation that the comments and the tag scenario planning document both use the word bully is one that any lay person could make. Culotta admits he is merely drawing inferences from timing in case documents, something jurors do in every case. That is not admissible testimony. Maislin actually confirms that Culotta's analysis is unreliable. Oh, Lively's expert says Lively's other expert is unreliable. Her report shows that social media users called Lively a bully in May, June, and July 2024, before the alleged campaign against Lively began. In Maislin's backup data, dozens of posts criticised Lively for bullying Kate Middleton, including 14 tweets or retweets that ask, "Who knew Blake enjoyed bullying women with cancer?" Culotta has no basis to claim that defendants planted this seed. Furthermore, while Culotta insinuates that the tag suggestion led to the uptick in comments on the Little Bump video about bullying, Culotta's own report identifies publications about the Little Bump video on Reddit, BuzzFeed, and the Daily Mail that preceded the tag suggestion by a few hours and are equally plausible candidates. Exactly what I just said. And there's a footnote here which I will read because I think this is important. Culotta's graphs misleadingly omit the Daily Mail article, and in a footnote, Culotta admits that his graphs may severely understate the number of comments on the video before the tag suggestion took place. Ouch! That's a problem. That's a big problem. In fact, the media attention to the video may have been the trigger for tag's suggestion. These articles could easily have fueled the negative comments on YouTube, but Culotta fails to consider these potential alternative causes, let alone rule them out. This is yet another reason why his testimony is unreliable and must be excluded. This may also be why Culotta at times said the evidence is consistent with manipulation, without affirmatively showing the evidence is inconsistent with other potential causes. Culotta's opinion is difficult to pin down, since he insisted at his deposition that his goal was not to perform a causal analysis, and that he did not perform a causal analysis of whether defendants were behind the uptick in comments. This is perplexing given that Culotta's analysis consists entirely of drawing a connection between YouTube comments and defendants' words and actions. Since Culotta admits he cannot opine on causation, he should not opine at all, since he would be merely inviting the jury to speculate. Oh my god. I'm losing my voice now, but this is fucking hilarious. Culotta should not be allowed to opine on defendants' involvement or summarize case documents. YouTube is the most obvious place where Culotta tries to attribute the purported inauthentic activity to the defendants, but not the only one. Early in his report, Culotta engages in a lengthy discussion of defendants' alleged campaign, replete with citations to the complaint, deposition, testimony, and other documents and communications. When discussing TikTok, Culotta emphasizes that tag employees discussed certain of the posts that supposedly had anomalous top comment shares. When discussing Reddit, Culotta finds it notable that a spike in the combined comment score on August 14th, 2024 aligns with the timing of certain tagged text messages. Testimony of this sort, however, is no more proper in these contexts than it was for YouTube. None of it involves expertise or any reliable methodology, and none of it is admissible at trial. Indeed, Culotta admits that documents produced via discovery and deposition testimony are his only basis for linking defendants to the purported inauthentic activity. He admits that his technical analysis was not designed to determine that any specific piece of content was placed by any individual, including the defendants. He admits that the scope of his assignment did not include a causal analysis and that his goal wasn't to determine the impact of any particular event on social media activity. Accordingly, even if Culotta is allowed to opine that inauthentic activity was present on social media, he should not be allowed to opine that defendants were responsible. Nor should Culotta be allowed to summarize or interpret case documents at trial. That invades the province of the jury. It is one thing for an expert to apply a specialized methodology, but quite another to marshal and connect facts in a manner typically saved for the fact finder or for counsel during closing argument. His report suggests that he plans to provide a narrative of defendant's alleged social media campaign. This would give Lively another summation in the guise of expert testimony, which is impermissible, prejudicial, and unhelpful to the trier of fact. Culotta should not be allowed to speculate about other platforms. After discussing TikTok, Reddit, and YouTube, Culotta concludes with the broad assertion that the presence of markers of inauthenticity in these three domains suggests that inauthentic activity was likely present in others. It is difficult to imagine a conclusion that is more speculative or lacking in rigorous analysis. It should be excluded, and Culotta's overreaching in this regard casts serious doubt on the reliability of his other testimony. Well, I don't know what to say about that. Good God. So, yeah, that was. I'm slightly speechless. I mean, as far as experts go, obviously Lively is going to reply to all this. So by let me just check the date. So on Friday, tomorrow, we're going to get the parties' oppositions to the motions in limine. And then next Friday, the 24th, we are going to get the oppositions to these Daubert motions. And I will kind of hold a little bit of judgment because I want to see how Lively responds to some of this. But taking Wayfarer's word and what they're saying here, just taking their opinions, these experts so far, and we've got Michael Robbins next, these experts sound like a fucking disaster. And I read the report of Michael Robbins. I thought he was a disaster too. I did. When I do that video next, I will include a link to my video where I read his report. I did not like this guy at all. All right, thank you for sticking with it, guys. This is going to be a long process, but I'm hoping actually you're finding these the way that Wayfarer have written this is quite entertaining. But it exposes the very harsh weaknesses with these experts, because if you listen to Lively and you just listen to read their reports, you think, okay, they sound like they know what they're talking about. But then you see what the opposition then say, where they just take their reports and absolutely tear them to shreds. And you realize, actually, there's problems. All right. We'll be back for Michael Robbins next.